Hello, good evening. Good evening, boys and girls. How are you today? I decided to stream because I'm trying to learn something new and I thought it could be useful somehow to other people as well. And so, it's what I'm doing. 1 second, I'm just setting up. I'm just setting up and advertising on the different channels. Yeah. Okay, so I think we can start. The name of the stream is a bit funny, I know, but it's exactly what it is. You would say, "Oh wow, an Italian guy that is cooking stuff. It could be good, huh? That could be good to have an Italian guy cooking, but actually, it is cooking, but it's a different way of cooking. He's cooking in a real engine, and actually, Unreal Engine has a cooking aspect of it. So there is a cooking thing in Unreal, which basically means to package your application. And there's this thing, cooking and chunking. Now, at the moment, we have a single pack file. Which is pretty big. It's 9 gigabytes. You can see it here. Is 9 gig enough? Which is containing basically everything. So it's containing all our music, our sounds, our 3D models, our textures, and everything else, right? Our data tables, our widgets, our UI, our buttons, anything. So the point is that you have two ways. You can leave everything in one chunk, or you can leave it completely open. And with completely open, I mean that every file that you have in the original project will stay as a file. So basically, you will see. Let me see if I can find it. Yeah, you will see a structure which is basically the same as the one that we have here. The problem is that it's a bit too much, right? So like you will have a separate single file for every ambience, like either CD1, CD night, CD rain. Also, the other annoying thing is that, if you leave it open like this, people may have the temptation, to mess with the files. Like switching one sound with the other, like switching one model with the other, and actually it may even work, so in certain cases I think it could even work, in others not, because then the assets are connected to each other, so it may really mess up things. But the idea is that to not let the users kind of manage the single files or see the single files. Also, the files may give a sense of some parts of the game. For example, if you see all the sounds related to magic, you can kind of extract the names of the spells, right? Now you don't know which realm they are, you don't know how to cast them, but still you will have a reference. So I think the idea is not to, and then the other thing is that you will have really thousands of files. Like in this case, is 12,000 files, and having 10,000 separate files to manage. For example, if you are using an updater program like the one that we are trying to create, will be pretty time consuming and complex, because it means that the updater file will have 12,000 entries, and you will have to check 12,000 entries, so it may start to be too slow or anyway unpractical. So you want a middle ground, you want a middle ground between one huge chunk of 9.5 giga and 12,000 files. So you want a kind of a fine-tuned, fine-grained solution, and this fine-grained solution is called cooking and chunking, right? And this is what we are gonna read and learn today. I have just a basic knowledge of it, so I'm not really knowledgeable about it, but I think we can learn it together and maybe do some tests together to see how it works. You see that it's available since release 4.19, so I mean it's not too new, but it's not too old either. So I think it's something that is there since some time. By the way, I think we need to change the title also on. Let me just stop it, otherwise I have my voice. I think I can also change the title. Video producer, stream manager, stream summary info. No, I have to copy the title from the. Yeah, we're streaming on Twitch as well, so thanks to a duplication thing that we can do, we can stream both on Twitch and YouTube at the same time. Okay, so cooking and chunking. Okay, I already read the first part, which basically is saying what I just told you. So that the fact that you may have the need, to split in multiple chunks your final project. Now it goes a bit into this primary asset, which I didn't fully understand, but primary asset rules. Primary asset rules are used to determine which primary asset have management authority or which secondary asset. Okay, so there is kind of a hierarchy. I don't know how to say in English anyway, like a structure, right? So that you have a primary, like a master thing, and so all the secondary are going inside of the primary. So if they are defined, so the primary is kind of deciding the destination of the secondary. I think that is how I read this thing, right? So primary asset rule structure, they use the asset manager to determine how the okay. So primary asset labels. Meanwhile, let me start the editor so we can then test it directly. Editor, where is it here? Let me start the editor so while we read is starting. So primary asset label is a minimum variety of primary data asset. The setup is network asset and chunking and cooking. They're not again. This is the way cooking and chunking you can set up a primary rule, list, priority. So basically the primary assets are the one where you decide the big split between the different objects. In addition to explicit specifying assets, labels can also be started to manage all assets in a directory. Alright, that's very good. So it means that a full directory can be associated to a chunk using the label asset in my directory option. Okay. You can manage asset in editor collection. You can also create a collection. I think that for how our code is structured, we could go by directory or not. Like for example, if I have all the audio in one place, I mean we are not often changing the audio part. Like having all the NPCs in another chunk, I think will be pretty good. All the maps, all the character. I think this directory are really good. All the UI, all the weapons, all the thing. Yeah, I think that basically, if we split it one for each of those, I think would be good. One thing that we may want to split more is word content, because word content is really big, and maybe we want to split it more than in just one chunk. Okay, so let me see how to do this. It's saying in a directory using the label asset in my directory option. Label asset in my directory option. I have no idea where is it. Maybe it will explain it to me later. Alternatively, you can manage all assets in the editor collection by setting the asset collection field. A label asset in my directory is here. IRiser label generic. I don't understand too much what is this, but this primary asset label, named iRiser label, is basically manage the game iRise map asset and indicate it belongs to chunk number 2. iRiser label, priority 0, chunk ID 2. Okay, so it's assigning a chunk number 2 to it. And that's it. But it's not clicking this button. This one is not checked. So I don't know exactly what it does. At this point, the asset for iRiser is association with the primary asset ID. Okay, so the primary asset of the okay. Because the mapper has no chunk ID of his own, the chunking process will use the ID chunk found in iRiser label, which is 2. Okay, so this is kind of a dependency thing. Okay, since this asset is number 2 and is inside the map, then the map it will use the chunk number 2 as well. Okay, there is the case in where you go asset by asset, but I don't think we are going to do this. A similar setup will need to be made for Sanctuary map chunk 1. Asset with no chunk ID will go to chunk 0, the default pack. Okay. Secondary asset that references by multiple primary asset level will be associated with the high priority. Okay, so you may associate also with multiple primary asset. In that case, the highest priority is going in. So I don't know exactly how it works, but okay. The reference viewer show the management relationship with primary asset and the level map. Primary asset rise label map rise. Okay. Rules override. Rules override can be used to establish a priority. Okay, this is making it a bit too complex for me. I think we can just split by directory and that's it. This set our main game map to a specific chunk. Analyzing asset to chunk assignment. Okay, this is maybe what we can do now. The engine provides several built-in tools to audit your chunks. Using the existing tool, you can see which. Okay. To open the asset audit, okay. So developer tools. Asset audit. Okay, maybe we can do this. So window developer tool, asset audit, window developers tools, asset audit. Okay. Drop file here or right click to create a content. So it seems it is empty by default. Add primary asset types. Maps, primary asset type, all types. Okay. So clear asset. Total usage 1. Cooking rules. Because actually we may, I mean, if you go by map, right? If you go by map, and this thing is smart enough to understand all the chunks that are inside that particular map, and it does it automatically, that will be super cool for me. The only problem is that up to now it didn't explain me how to assign. Okay, I can audit the asset, and that's nice, right? Clicking the Add Chunks button will fill the window with a summary of all the chunks that exist in the current project. And at the moment, as you can see, we have nothing. In the project at the moment is only a single chunk, so there is nothing is coming up because we don't have any chunk assigned, right? To inspect, oh, what is this? Size map, the visual representation. Oh, that's very nice. Also with the size in megabyte. Wow, wow, that's super nice. Wow. Size map. Where is the size map? I don't see it. What is the size map? The size map, I see a size map. Asset. But you need to have a chunk. If you have a chunk, it's telling you how much. I mean, what? Okay, so we need to create these chunks. That's the first step, I guess. Why is it not telling me how to create the chunks? Okay, it didn't tell me. GG. I mean, it didn't tell me. I mean, maybe it's as simple as asset manager, primary asset type map, asset base class, classes is only directories. You can also go by directories. Game asset manager. So if I go in project properties, project setting, asset manager, I never clicked on this. Asset tools, asset manager, primary asset type to scan, primary asset map, primary asset label. But it is basically the setup that allows you to yeah, what I want to know is how to create a chunk. Because add chunks, you see, it does nothing. If I do add all primary assets, like all the maps, it is loading into this window all the maps. Maybe I can assign then a chunk, to a map. How do I? Uh-oh. I think it froze completely. Hello, Hula. I think it froze like a lot. Okay, because I think it loaded it. It loaded it here. If you click on it, it's just loading it. But no, I think so. Does this directory has a setting? Because I think that is where we need to go at this point. So, for example, I want this directory, to be audit asset. Open the audit asset UI and display information about the selected asset. Okay, drop files here or right click to create I mean, I can drop, for example, the audio thing. No, it's not doing anything. I mean, I'm not completely sure how to do this, but basically I would like to associate, let me see what I can do here. I can do new asset, and here is basically creating a new asset into this directory, so it's not here. Show explore, rename, set color, add to favorite, save, fixed, migrate, reference, viewer, size, map. Displays an interactive map showing the primary site you have in every reference. Oh shit. That is pretty cool, by the way. So there is a map of all the stuff that is inside audio. Very nice. Make a collection. Audit references. Wow, that's insane. Size map. Audit asset, we said that it goes here. Yeah, okay, it goes here, but chunks, how do I populate chunks? That's my question. I want to populate chunks by directory. Size map, validate asset, checkout, mark for add, check-in and sync. Okay, that is definitely not here. So maybe it's here, no. When I see a directory, do I have any detail of it? No. Okay. So we don't know how to do it. We don't know how to do it. At this point, I think we will ask the internet. Unreal Engine, how to add a directory to a chunk. Folder. Let's call it folder because I think it's called folder in Unreal. Compressing cookie content. I don't care. I mean, I think I can do it on one asset, right? I think if I click on one asset, like this guy, oops, sorry for the noise. So if I click on this guy, no, no, I don't know. It was I don't understand how to assign asset to a chunk. How to assign it? How to assign it? Allow chunk ID assignment. I don't know. Any of you knows? I mean, in theory, it should be in the manual, but in this manual, in this example, it doesn't tell me how to do it. Loose package architecture for cooking and game deploy your game. Primary asset ID. Maybe there's another link that I missed. Is it something that I missed? I mean, I understand I can do an editor, I can do a collection, but I mean, do I need to create this thing? Do I need to create a collection? Or can I just assign a directory? You know, this is what it's saying. In addition to explicitly specifying asset, labels can be set up to manage all assets in a directory. So I think I need to create this label. Can I create a... Camera name, composition, asset, table, library. What is this label thing? we need to understand. We need to understand how to create a new primary asset label. So we need to understand how to create this. If there was a video, it would be a bit easier for me because reading is very nice, but no. I mean, I hope it is done through the UI. I mean, it's not something I need to code, but I was expecting, to be able to create a new label here. I mean, the only thing I see is this developer tools asset audit. But from the asset audit, okay, I can add all the primary asset. I can say all types. I see all the types here. It is, for example, is one of my maps. Okay. If I do add chunks, it's not doing anything. If I right click, I can do only this, which is not, I can do edit though. Let's see, edit. Now edit is just opening the map. Primary asset label, you see this thing? Primary asset label. I mean, we can check them all. It's under P. Should be under P, right? Artificial intelligence, no. Blendable, no. Blueprint, no. Editor utility, no. Foliage, we say no. It's not here. 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 Don't understand. Should I do something like that? No, I don't think so. No, I don't think so. I think there is a possibility, but it's not what we need to do. Primary asset labels. Because the other way is to do it from the project settings here, right? So from here, from asset manager, asset tools, now asset manager, you see there are, but my understanding of this was that primary asset rules, primary asset label, the logical name for this asset type. Crap. I cannot get. Hello, Jean. Did you ever use the chunks? Did you ever use chunks and asset labels? Because I would like to split my game in chunks, but I cannot find in the documentation here how to do it. How to create this thing. Primary asset label. You see, this thing is an object. This primary asset label, how do I create one? I don't understand how to create one. Asset management. It continues to bring me to the same page, but register your primary asset with the asset manager. You can use it in 3 ways. Configure project setting. So yeah, I did it here. I mean, here there is already a primary asset, which is map. Paths to scan for primary asset can be configured. This is the type of primary asset to discover and register. Okay. The asset manager function load prime asset, load primary asset, load primary asset with type can be used to begin loading primary asset with appropriate time. No, but I don't need to load them dynamically. I'm just trying to assign them. No, I don't. I think that this thing is not what I want to do. This is in case you want to load certain assets at runtime, which is very nice. It's very interesting, but it's not. The only thing I want is to split my assets in, my chunks in directories. So the one directory corresponds to one chunk when it's packaged. That's the only thing I want to do. And game maps the path to the directory. Game maps, well, it's content maps, but yeah, it's game maps. Game maps, specific assets here, directories, game maps. Okay, even this one could be good, so in the sense that this rule is fine. So it's saying he's selecting all the maps and he's putting primary asset types to scan. So how do I launch the scan then? Is there a scan button somewhere? I don't get it. I really don't get it. When you create a blueprint class, no, I want to do it by directory. I don't want to do it blueprint by blueprint. I don't know. It seems it's interesting that it says, primary asset types to scan. List of asset type to scan a startup. Okay, I understand that. So why you didn't scan it then? So where are my chunks based on maps? They are not there. So I don't get it. Let me take a blueprint and see what happens. Oh, let me take a map. Let me open a map and see, like this map, okay? So this map should have its own. Let me see if there is label here. No. If there is chunk, no. Because in theory, this map, should have a setting. Cooking. Is editor only actor? Generate optimized blueprints. Why this part is explained so bad? I mean, it's really explained so bad. It's explaining everything except how to create the chunks. Maybe it's under packaging. Maybe it's under packaging, is not here. Maybe it's under, I need to go, let me search for chunk. Cooking and chunking is what we have seen. Packaging project, chunk, Unreal Engine documentation. Nah. It's not much more, huh? Enable allow chunk ID assignment from the editor preferences, then select asset, right click asset tool assign to chunk. Yeah, but I don't want to do it asset by asset. Can I do it by directory? But okay, that's something I can do just to test. But editor preferences, you say? Allow chunk ID assignment. Maybe this works also in directories then? On a directory seems no. Editor name, duplicate, save, asset action capture, select x1 migrate, reload, replace, bulk, assign to chunk. I want to assign a folder. I mean, to me, the easiest, because if I go by asset, I become crazy. I mean, I have 12,000 assets, so it will never work for me. I don't understand the concept of packaging for cooking something like a picnic bag. I can explain you what is the thing. So, because you were not here at the beginning, I explained at the beginning. So basically, when we create our game for distribution, so to send it to you, okay, we create a package. Okay, like for example, PS Unreal Shipping 074, okay, which is the new release. This one is made of an executable, which is the one you launch, but it's also made of many other files. And most of the graphics, art files, whatever, are going into a kind of a single file, which is, you can consider it like a zip file, which is called a pack, like a package. Okay, so, and at the moment we have only one package of 9 gigabytes, 9.5 gigabytes, and this will become, I don't know, 20, 30, 40, I don't know how many, but it will definitely become bigger. So the point is that we don't want to have one file of 9 giga, because then it becomes pretty hard to manage, to update, to change, right? Because we will have an updater. We are developing an updater which is able to update the single pieces, and actually basically we have it working. It's just that working on a 9 gigabyte file is not a great idea, and then it will become a 40 gigabyte file is not a great idea, so it's better to split it in chunks. So I'm trying to see if we can split this file into multiple files and maybe associate, by directory somehow, this association. Because if I do, for example, if I take all the maps and put it in one chunk, all the audio and put it in one chunk, all the NPC and put it in one chunk, it would be pretty easy for me. Now the problem is that when I right click here, it seems I cannot assign a directory. I cannot assign a directory to. I can do it on a single asset. Thank you, but man, doing it on a single asset is GG. Assign to chunk. I mean, that doesn't mean assign to chunk. I mean, yeah, I can assign this one to a chunk, but I want everything else in that directory to take it, or it does it automatically, because there was something in documentation they was saying. But anyway, we can do it just for fun, okay, just to understand how it works. So let's say that I want to take this guy and assign it to a chunk. Okay, so assign to chunk, and we can say chunk ID 1, okay, which is not the default. So now this guy, okay, apart from the fact that he has to be checked out, which is a bit annoying, but okay, but I understand because he has to store it somewhere. So this one now is assigned to chunk number 1, okay? So if I go to developer tool asset audit and I load all the chunks, no, it's not doing anything. Maybe I need to save it first. Let's do it on a map because I see that the maps are kind of managed now. I think that the single assets are not managed. So let's go to a map and let's take this one, this map, okay? A random map. Is loading it. And then I do asset assigned to chunk. Okay, and I say it is assigned to chunk number 1. It will ask me to check it out. Okay. Now, if I select the same map, okay, chunk number 1. So this one actually has been assigned to the chunk number 1, which is great, which is nice, right? But it means I have to do it manually for every map. I become crazy, boys. It's like 150. So, or 80 or 90 or 100, I don't know. It's so many. Primary name, game maps. Primary map. Okay. Cook 1, chunk 1. Okay, so this one will go into the chunk number 1. Okay. Now, if I do the if I do the sides map, which is this thing, right? But it's not doing the sides map by chunk, you know. Because it would be interesting for me to know the sides, but disk sides 1307. So how do I see the size of my chunks now? So like one will be like 9 giga and the other will be like only this map. Right? So how do I see? I think this feature is not very used. I don't know why, but I always go back to this thing. There is one page. There is this page. Everything goes back to this page. Yeah, but you see here my chunk should show. If you do add chunks, my chunk should show. While if I do add chunks, clear asset, add chunks, it does nothing. Why add chunks does nothing? Because in this example, it's saying clicking the add chunks button will fill the window with a summary of all the chunks that exist in the current project. I have no idea. Let me try to save this. Maybe one is saved. I don't want to check out this map really. I don't want to check out any of this. One second. Let me redo it. Let me do it maybe on a map that is actually not used because I don't want to go in conflict with other changes done by other people. But Let's do it on a random empty map. Like this one is 0, 1, 10. Okay, we should remember 0, 1, 10. So I go here, I click on asset action and assign to chunk, and we say assign to chunk number 1. Right? Then we save it. No. We don't want to save it. We want to save this one. Save it. Yes, checkout. Saving, whatever. Okay, so now he has this chunk number 1 assigned. Okay, so now I want to see if I go under developer tool, asset audit, and I do add chunks. Why add chunks is not working? Let me see if he loads it up at startup, because he was saying something about startup, like when the editor starts, it's like scanning one time all the chunks that you have. I don't know. But it seems that chunks are not there. Developer tool, asset audit, add chunks. Why add chunks is doing nothing. But if I add my map, which is 0, 1, 10, we said 0, 1, 10. Yes. You see that he has chunk number 1. The interesting thing is that when I add the map number 1, when I add this map, it seems that automatically, is loading in also all these other assets which are probably referenced by this one. Okay? Yeah, I think it's like loading all the pieces that are somehow referenced by this map, and probably is also assigning them to the same chunk. So am I blind, or there is not a create chunk kind of thing? Clear asset clears everything in this window. Okay. Add primary asset types like maps is adding here in this list all the maps, and if I search the one that has a chunk number 1 is my map that I just modified. Okay, so it's just a way to add the asset to this list. I can add a class, I can add a specific asset that is managed. Okay, and in theory I should be able to add chunks, but add chunks is doing nothing. Because you see in the example here, in this web page, is saying that you can add chunks, then here you see the list of the chunks, and then you can also right click to inspect one chunk, right? And in this one chunk you will see the size map, and so you will see how you see this packet chunk 0 will tell you, oh, there is that much megabyte used for this asset, this asset, this asset. So it's exactly what I need. It's exactly what I need. There are only two issues. I cannot associate it to a freaking directory, and I cannot see the chunks. I cannot see the chunk. I don't know if there is a way how to create the chunk. So the question is how to create a chunk. How to create a chunk. Basic chunk generation. Oh shit. No, but it is not. No, but it is not a chunk that we want. It is for destructible meshes. The chunk ID is just a number. I know it's just a number, but I want to see it, and I want to be able to associate. Only one pack chunk is as. I'm used the primary asset label template, and it's working. Okay. How do you create these things? Yeah, how do you create these labels? I want to create these things. Test main label. Test main label. We need to understand how to create these labels, but I searched it, it was not possible. I searched every single menu here and it was not there. So how do I create? Maybe a label is just a collection. Let's assume there is just a. I think I can create a collection somewhere. Preview mesh. By the way, it should be here. It should be in this list. Camera animation, composite, composite, curve, curve, data asset. I don't know, maybe it's data is the same icon. Data table, force, 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 haptic level, matinee, object library, preview mesh collection, object state, string, substance. So, or is this one? Select skeleton. Data asset. I don't know how to create this freaking thing, boys. Yeah, I tried already to create a blueprint. If I do create blueprint and I do label, I can actually select primary asset label and do this, but it becomes a blueprint. It doesn't have the same icon. It doesn't have the same icon. It doesn't have anything. You know. And also if I click on it, then it opens up as a blueprint. So this is so stupid that they don't explain it. I don't know. How do I create a primary asset label? I asked you this question already, by the way. I always go on the same page. Let me force into the search primary asset label exactly like this. A chunk is a collection of assets that can be independently deployed and downloadable. By default, the project will have only one chunk, known as chunk 0, and all assets will be included in the chunk. After assigning asset to a different chunk, the arranging staging system will create a separate independent pack file, which can be integrated with the appropriate platform specific. Okay, and up to here we understand. For Battle Breaker, they tune into files and downloadable blah blah blah. There is an older method of creating chunks that use cooker callbacks. But starting with 4.17, the asset manager is the easiest and most flexible way to do this. To take advantage of this feature, the game needs to be set up to create chunks. Maybe we need to enable it somewhere. Maybe we need to enable it somewhere. There it is, generate chunks. Generate chunks. I think if we don't click it, probably in the UI, project settings, chunks. Generate chunk is under packaging. Let me just see the whole thing. Packaging. Packaging is use pack file. If enabled, all content will be put into one or more pack files instead of many individual files. Okay, and we want the pack files. Then generate chunks. If enabled, we generate pack chunks. Asset can be assigned to chunks in the editor or via delegate. C shooter delegate. It can be used for streaming. Okay, so I need to select this for sure. Generate chunks. Generate number of chunks. If enabled, no platform will generate chunks regardless of setting in platform specific file. Chunk hard references. Now doing chunk generation depends on pack file compression. Sure. Okay, so we enable this thing. Maybe this one was needed. You know, maybe this one was needed to be able to do something here. Maybe, let me see if now, nice, click on that one. Developer tool, asset audit. Let me see if I do okay. I mean, why the fuck this thing is not documented? I mean, it's so stupid. I mean, it should be in that page. Okay, we're going to document it ourselves because it's pretty stupid that we have a page for packaging and shipping. I think I can put it here. These are just some examples, but I think I can edit this page and add a new section which is generating separate chunks in packaging and cooking. I'm putting all these keywords, so if someone searches on the internet, it will probably find it out. Okay, so first thing to enable is, so we said that we go where? We go into the project setting. So edit project, project settings, packaging, and then we need to enable edit project setting, packaging, and then generate chunks. Okay, then generate chunks. Then the other thing that we can do is in the editor, which was under editor set. So edit editor preferences, edit editor preferences, and then there was what was that? Allow chunk ID is under user interface, is under experimental. Okay, it's under experimental. Okay, don't know why it's under experimental, but and we said allow chunk ID assignment, so allow chunk ID assignment. Now this one is for this one is global, this one is just for the single asset, so to flag a single asset. Now I don't think I want to flag a single asset anyway, so I don't want to flag a single asset. I think that now that we see our chunks, maybe it's enough, you know. So so window, developer tool, asset audit. So if I do add chunks now, so window, developer tool, so window, developer tools, asset what? Asset manager, asset audit, and then in this one, right? In this one, what we do add chunks. Okay, so we see the chunks, and then size map or whatever. Okay, so this is a bit clearer to me. So now if I go here and I do size map, okay, the chunk number 0 I don't understand too much why chunk number 0 is inside a font, word align texture. Why this? Chunk number 0, 16,000 megabyte or 16 megabyte? I don't know. 16 megabyte. How can chunk 0? Name chunk 0. Okay, but we said that we have one map, which is chunk 1. Right? This one is chunk 1. Why are you asking me to save it again? It was already chunk 1, but anyway. But without chunks, I still see chunk 0. Okay. So let me see if now maybe we have this label thing that we can create. Create data asset or primary asset label. It's a data asset. Yeah, I was about to click on data asset and I didn't do it, but data asset primary asset label. New data asset. Chunk 1. I don't know. No, this is not chunk. This is actually label 1. Label 1. Label 1. Priority 0. Chunk ID. Okay, here I can specify the chunk ID. So if I say chunk ID 1, apply recursively. Cooking rule unknown. Never cook, deployment cook, always cook. Label asset in my directory. True to label everything in this directory and subdirectory. Okay, so I think that is what we want. So, wait a second, I don't want it in this directory though. So let me delete this. Let me add one to audio, okay? So I want everything that is audio. There's not a lot of stuff, but anyway. So it's under miscellaneous. So how to create a new level? To create create a new primary label in one of the directories. And to do this, you have to do right click, miscellaneous data asset, right click, then select primary label. I don't know why this thing is not explained. It's so stupid that you have to find it out by trial and error. Sorry, we said miscellaneous data asset. Okay. Primary asset label. Okay. And here we will name it audio label. Okay. Perfect. Save. This one I like. So right click miscellaneous primary label. Okay. Then open the label and select edit the label and select all, label everything in this directory and all the subdirectories. Okay, I think is enough. So now this label is created. I just have to assign it to a chunk, so I didn't do it. Chunk number 1. So in the label, I label assets in my directory and assign a chunk ID and mark and flag label assets in my directory. Okay. Okay. So in theory, now this label is saying that everything that is in this directory and all the subdirectory goes into chunk number 1. Now I really want to see if this thing now is understanding chunk number 1. Oh, yes, 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 it is, it is, it is, it is. So I think that is not needed actually. To flag single asset for now we'll remove it, okay? So let's say to generate multiple chunks based on the folders present in your content browser, to generate multiple chunks while packaging based on the folders. You're gonna do the following. So number 1, first thing to enable this. Then number 2, create a new primary label in one of the directories. So right click, miscellaneous of the primary directory, open the label, assign it a chunk, label my directory. Okay, then number 3 is open the asset audit window, and you do it with this thing, right? And then here you do click on add chunks. Okay, so finally here we can see our chunk 0, our chunk 1. Now we can also see the size. So one is 16 gigabyte and the other is 134 megabyte. That's pretty good anyway. Can I give a name to this thing? No. So it will be just called chunk 1. It will not be named like audio or anything. I think it's okay. Okay, let's try to do it with the maps. Now let's try to do it with the NPC. We put all the NPC in one label. So miscellaneous data asset, primary asset label. We call it NPC label. And we assign it to number 2. And we apply recursively. If true, this rule will apply to all referenced secondary asset. I don't know. No, I mean, I understand. This is very smart. So this is basically navigating the reference viewer window. I mean, navigating the links like a reference viewer window, and he's searching all the assets that are connected to that, and he's putting into the same thing. But for now, we just go by directory, okay, which is the simplest. Let's just go by directory. Then I want to do one for characters. So miscellaneous, data asset, primary asset label. This will be characters label. Okay. This will be number 3. And will be directory thing. Okay. So if you do that, now let me see again my map. Add chunks. Okay, now it sees 3 chunks. One is still 16 gigabytes. I mean, we are not splitting it too much at the moment, but we start to have. Why the first one is still so big anyway? We removed. It was 16,700 or something. Now we removed 500, 200, 100. Well, maybe it's estimated. Maybe it's the estimated size. I don't think it can do it perfectly, you know. So I think it's fine. What is taking a lot of the space? I think a lot of the space is inside maps for sure. So let's do one for maps, which will be number 4. This will be maps label. It will be number 4. Use the directory. I think the huge one is under word content, but let me do one for things. I mean, since I'm here, I think I will do one for every major that. Let's do it like 2 or 3, and then or 4 or 5, and then we test it. Okay. This will be things label. This will be number 5, right? Okay. And then I don't know, we can have web, we can have UI, like all the UI, yeah, all the UI, we can split it. I think it's a good idea. So this will be UI label. I guess everyone will wonder what the hell is that, but anyway, we know. Okay, UI label. Okay, fine. Okay, good. Now, if I go into my chart, I think we are pretty much okay to do a test of packaging. It'll take a bit, but add chunks. Yeah, we have 6 chunks from 0 to 6. But why the chunk 0 is still 16 giga point 2? It seems that you know, everything is going in chunk 0 anyway. I don't understand. Why chunk 0 is anyway keeping reference to everything? I have no idea. Okay. You want to try to package like this? I mean, I don't know if I have to exclude, because priority 0, chunk ID 6. I mean, how do I say that it should not go in chunks? I mean, I hope this guy is smart, you know, so it is like considering the chunks. I think I want to remove the thing that I did, the one where we flagged this one specifically. I think this one I want to revert. I want to revert to whatever we have in SVN. Exactly. Because I don't want to have this single map with the flag. Maybe it's messing up something. You see that my chunk 0 is still 16 megabytes. No, but this is 16 megabytes. It's not 16 gigabytes. So what is everything else? I don't know. Let's try like this. I need to test it to see. Okay, so now we saved it. I think I can close it. Let me just save this thing. Yeah, let me just save this. Let me show preview. Yeah, it looks okay. Let me save this. At least we have it somewhere. So now I want to generate. Right? I want to generate a package. And the way I do it, let's try to create a directory which is actually, let's call it 704 chunks, okay? So that we are sure that we are not messing up with the other directories where we have, so it will be a new directory down here. The directory will be called PS Unreal Shipping 704 chunks. Okay, so we will generate the package inside of this. Now to generate the package, it's very simple. I just do this. And it will generate it. Now it takes some time, unfortunately, to generate, because it's actually running the whole cooking thing, so it will take a bit of time. I don't know if you can do something else in between, but this is basically now taking all our sources, recompiling them, but he will see that the sources are already compiled, and so he's basically skipping the compilation. Then he will try to see if the cooked stuff is already cooked or not. And also for that he will find out that it's already cooked, so he should not recompile anything. He should not recook anything, but he will do a check on every asset. So the part that takes time is actually the checks on every single asset. You see the build is completed. Now he's doing the cooking. I can make it a bit bigger. Can you see it? I can make it bigger. Okay. So here the build command was completed. Now he started the cooking. So he's now cooking means that he's preparing all the assets that we have to be shipped in a package that you can deliver to a player. Okay. Now here is cooking everything, but everything is already cooked. Okay, so as you can see, it goes very fast. It's not super fast, but it's fast enough. I mean, it's in theory, if you do it from scratch, it takes like 2 hours or 3 hours. I mean, it takes really a lot of time. But now it should take only a few minutes. So I will go through this. He will go through this, and he's checking every texture, every whatever. So he has to check 13,000 things. So what I'm expecting as a result of this is instead of one single, I'm going to remove this patch, one single pack file of 9 giga, I'm expecting at least 1 giga less, because we reduced it by about 1 giga. I think there was a 500, 300, 200, so about 1 giga. So I'm expecting one file of 8 gigabytes, and then, you know, all the other pieces as separate pack files. This is what I'm expecting. Unfortunately, it will take a bit. What can we do in the meantime? Well, in the meantime, I think I can explain you a bit of what we are doing on the updater, right? I think I can explain you a bit of that. Yeah, this was the faction thingy. So, thanks to, why I cannot right click on this? Okay. Thanks to a guy that is helping me a lot, which is Jalula, which maybe is also here in the stream. So he's developing the updater, right? The updater is the application that allows you to update the game, which unfortunately by default in Unreal does not exist, which is a real pity, but anyway, it does not exist. So what we need to do, you know, we usually release, so let's imagine that we release version 074, right? And this release 074 is made of a bunch of stuff. It's made of ini files, is made of executable files, is made of pack files, and a lot of other stuff. But let's say the main ones are these three things. Okay, the pack files is basically where all the assets go, so all the models, all the textures go, right? Now the first problem is that we need to do this. We need to do this 3 times, right? Because we need to do it, one for Windows, one for Linux, and one for Mac. And obviously they will have slightly different names, like, okay, the exe will not be exe on Mac and such, right? So we will release this on the 3 platforms, and this is already kind of working. Is already kind of working today. So I have 3 separate machines where I can generate, right? How can I do a machine like this? I have 3 separate machines one is a Linux, one is a Windows, and one is a Macintosh. This one is only a Mac Mini, unfortunately, so it's super slow, but anyway, it does its job, right? Where I generate this thing, right? And let's say that we generate it. Now, the problem is that at a certain point in time, we want to update it. So, or we ship again the whole thing, but it can be again 10 giga, 20 giga, 30 giga, so we cannot, or we make an updated. So when we make a new release, right, what I will have to do, I will have to generate the new release. Maybe I can do that. I will have to generate a new release, which in this case will be 0.5, right? Cannot live like this. No. Okay. 0.5. And this one, I know is not perfect, it's annoying, I know. But we will live with that for a second. I will generate 0.5, right? Now, generating 0.5 will generate a bunch of new files. Maybe the X is different, maybe the pack is different, maybe the in is different, I don't know. So there will be a different. Now, what we need to do, we need to compare those two things. So we need to compare those directories, let's say, all the files contained, right? And somehow generate. So it is like a compare, okay? So we need to compare these two things and generate a patch. Now to generate the patch, we decided to use X Delta 3, which it seems to be pretty good. Is the same one that, by the way, we use also for the old Plane Shift game. So X Delta 3 is a binary diff. So it's doing a binary diff of all the files, all the individual files. So it's basically taking the list of all the files that exist, right, in the in each of the releases, because obviously it needs to do it by release. Okay, so by platform, I mean. So by platform is generating the patch of all the files and only the delta. And let me see, where is the process of generation? Okay, it's nearly finished with the cooking, which is nice. Now this delta thing is then zipped up, right? Is then zipped up into a zip file, and this zip file is actually served on a web server, on a website. Okay, let's go on a website. It's a server on a website. Okay. So basically, what you have on a website, you have the individual releases, and you have the patch file. So this patch file will be called I don't know, something like Windows patch 0.7.5. Okay, and there will be another one, you know, called Linux. So let's say .zip. So we will have, right? We will have on a website somewhere. Actually, we have it already because it's kind of working. But the zip file with a patch. Now it's time for the client side. So the client side, so this is like, let's say, the server side, or the updater server side. Okay, so which is doing all of this work and is generating the patch. Now on the client side, or let's say on the player computer, on the player PC, what happens is that it will launch the game, right? So there will be plane shift game here, which will be potentially still version 0.7.4. This one, the first thing that it does is checking for updates, right? It's checking for updates, and as soon as the way it does it is just to read this website, okay? So it's reading a website, is understanding that there is a patch, is finding a patch, and at this point is using again X delta to patch the uses X. You don't see it as a player, you don't see it, but anyway, it's using X delta to binary patch. I mean, let's say to patch the game. Okay. Now, unfortunately, there are a number of issues with this process. The main issue is that that if you want to update a program that is running, you cannot do it in Windows. You can do it on Linux, you can do it on Mac, because you can change the executable on the disk while the executable is running. But unfortunately on Windows you cannot do it. This operating system is protecting this for whatever reason, and so it's not allowing us to do it. And this generates quite a big issue, because, by the way, let me save this, so maybe I will make a short video on it later on. I will call it mission updater. Mission updater. Okay, so now there is a problem with this, because if you want to substitute an executable file, which is the program itself, so which is the PlaneShift client, you cannot do it on Windows. So you have different options. One option, let me save it as number 2 so we can clear it. One option that we were thinking is, okay, we have 2 programs, right? One is actually the PS updater, which by the way is the same, in Legacy was called PS Launcher, which is its own program, right? And then we have another one, which is the actual game, which is, let's say, the PS Unreal. Let's call it PS Unreal, right? Now, in this case, this executable can update PS Unreal, because it's actually PS Unreal is a different program. So this one can update PS Unreal. If you put them together, unfortunately, it is not working. So at least it's not working on Windows. So if you put them in a single program, so the PS updater, the PS Unreal contains the PS updater, meaning that it's the same program, right? It's the same executable. Then unfortunately, the patching system, which should do something like this, you know, on himself somehow. So he should just patch himself. Unfortunately, on Windows does not work, right? Because you cannot do it. You cannot do it on Windows, and there is a problem. So what we are trying to figure out is, we prefer this approach, because it was just a single file, a single program, much easier, you know. The problem is that to update himself, you have few options. So you copy the executable, and then you update that one, and then you copy over. But overall, it's not very simple. So this is where we are stuck now. Now the updater seems to work fine. So all the previous process that I shown you seems to work okay. Now we are having this issue of updating ourselves on Windows, or updating the program on Windows, and this is why we are a bit stuck. Okay, but the good news is that meantime the packaging completed. So now what we want to see is if in our new shipping chunks, yes, if we go under content, you see that the sum of these packs in terms of size is 9 giga.7, so it's exactly the same size that we had in the single package. The difference is that here we have it separate, right? Which I think is pretty good. There are some small ones like 65 mega. I think this is probably the audio. The 9 mega, I don't know what is it, but there are some that are a bit small. It's kind of interesting that some of them are called optional. You see, I mean, I didn't actually flag. I think that, I mean, if the program is smart enough, I think what it did, it just checked all the assets which are actually referenced somewhere, and it put it into the main pack, and all the ones that are not referenced anywhere, it put it into the optional. Now the problem is that some of the assets we are loading at runtime based on the file based on the names, of the objects. So maybe it doesn't know, maybe this guy does not know that they are not really optional. But I think it kind of worked. So I think we can split. My problem would be to split the 6 gigabyte, but I think that this demonstrates that it's working okay. It's working fine. Now we can launch it and see if it's fine, but before launching it, maybe let me just do something, because I don't want, yeah, exactly, let's call it 05. Otherwise it will try to update itself, and it's not something that we want, right? But let me see if it starts. It doesn't start because it's missing one file, which is the zip DLL, because I didn't copy it while packaging. And I think it should start fine, even if it's split in different packages. Now we could remove the optional and see what happens. Why saying current version is 0.74? I think because because the external file is the one that okay. Anyway, I think it starts now. The problem is that it is not really the 0.74 version, and so it's messing up a bit. It's thinking it's another version and such. But I think it's working okay. So I think, yes, the packaging seems to be fine. So I think that the way to do it is exactly this. So we start to split the package. The only problem is, how do I know then which chunk is doing what? I think I can, when I launch the editor, when I launch the editor, I can check this. Well, I can just search all the labels, and I can just search all the label objects, and this will give us the full set. I would be interested to understand what are the optional chunks. Let's see if there is the word optional. No, it's not here. Can we force optional? I think it's optional. I think it gets option, I think he's still getting option. He's trying to help me, but actually he's not helping me. I don't know what are these optional files. But anyway, I think that is good. I think that is good. I like it. You can also reference viewer. Package chunk number 6, primary asset label. Okay, and here is C's basically. This is the one of the UI. It's a pity you cannot name them because I mean you can see it here, UI label, but and if I click on edit, nothing happens. Primary name. You see there is a primary name. No, but name is a chunk number 6. I don't know if there is something in the options to name the chunks or something. Generate chunks, packaging. Generate number chunk, hard reference only, build HTTP chunk install date, HTTP chunk install pack file compression, share metadata share code, in key blacklist. Because it would be nice to have them named. If I could have the UI, you know, the NPC, the whatever, it would be much easier for me. It would be much easier. But anyway, I think it's good enough. Does the size correspond to what we got in the directories? Well, let's say that there is one that is probably including everything else that is not, you know, specified. So maybe this chunk number 4 is probably this 7 giga is probably everything that I did not. Yeah, this 7 giga here. Yeah, chunk number 4, 7 giga. Temp primary asset. I know there's a size map. Yeah, you can see here. This map is super beautiful. It's telling you. I mean, I don't know if it's really. I mean, I don't know if it's really something that you will use at the end, but like the only HIDLA map is 2 gigabytes. Wow. Because it includes a million other assets that you can see here, right? And you can also click on it and you can see them all. Wow. Yes, these are all the pieces that are making our map. So, so only this is 2 giga. I think that the reason it's doing that is because it's splitting the work contents. Because I didn't make a package for work content, and so I think there is anyway taking work content and putting it into that data because I think that this work content is super big. It's super big. If I do, let me see. I can check it here from here. If I do content, work content, right? There is 4 giga. Yeah. I can split this one. 4 giga is still a lot. So I think I will have to split work content in multiple pieces. Maybe this one, which is the main city, I will split it separately. But anyway, I think it's good. I think we achieved the objective. The objective was to ensure that we were able to generate these chunks, understand how to package in chunks during cooking and stuff, and I think we did it. Now unfortunately I have to go because it's very late, but I can continue with this idea, split it more, you know, split it more and split it the proper way, and to ensure that we have, say, maximum a file of 1 giga or something like that. 2 giga. 2 giga I think is a reasonable size. More than 2 giga seems a bit of an overkill. At the moment, this word content is, maybe we can split the word content into subdirectories, so to have like one which is the all the idle area. So we take all of this, all these ones is basically the idle area, and we put it in one single directory, which is already 600 megabytes, right? And then we split up there. I think it's pretty big. It's 200 megabytes. I think that each one is about 200. So at the end, it's just the number of maps, that is making it heavy. But I think splitting everything else is already a good idea. So even if this one is 4 giga, I think we're already splitting all the others into smaller ones. I don't know why we have some that are very, very small. Like there was a 9 or a 16. This one's 16 megabyte. I think this is chunk 0. 92 megabytes. This could be the audio maybe. No, this is the UI. It is the things. Number 4. Number 4 is a collection of maps. And number 3 is characters. Characters is about 500 mega. I think it's okay. And NPC is 200 megabytes. Okay, I think we can split the game like this. I think is fine. Do you have any? If you have any questions, please go on, because I'm about to leave. But if you have any question, comments, or anything you want to say, please do it now. Meanwhile, I just remind you that the game is actually a porting of an old game. The old game is available. If you go to planeshift.it, you can download it now. The only problem is that this game is made with a very old engine, and the graphics and the usability is not great, but you can still play it. It has a lot of features. You can do quests, you can fight, you can craft, you can explore, you can chat, you can make guilds, you can run events, you can do whatever you want. You can cast magic, research magic, and whatever. So it's pretty much a full game. I mean, it's not finished, but it's pretty much a full game. Now the new one is the one that we are porting to Unreal, and is the one that I'm trying to build together with other people and to port what we have. And if you want to support us on the development of the game, you can just go to patreon.com/planeshift, and you can join us in building it and in helping us to build it. You get some perks on Discord for doing this. Okay, so you get access to the support channel. You can see the videos that I'm posting. It's a bit of time. Actually, I'm not posting new videos. I think the last one was a month ago. Yeah, it was the 13th of June. So I need to post new ones. I want to do one for the updater, just to explain how it works, and do one for the completion of the factions. So I will do that as well. Okay? Good. So with that said, let me see if there is any question. Otherwise, I would go. When you start the packaged app, are all the package chunks opened by the main process? I have no idea, but we can check. I think all the optionals probably will not, but we can launch it. Even unfortunately it crashed because his thinking is another one, but unfortunately. But we can see if I launch it. It crashed because it's trying to update itself, and actually should not, because it is not matching any is not matching this thing. The problem is that I cannot stop him to do this, because even if I change this file, we said that this file is not even read, you know, because it's the one that is inside the pack. So I don't know how to. Well, the only way I can delete. Yeah, what I can do, I can delete or I can clear out. Let me clear out. Maybe I can clear out the update file. So if I go under updater and I remove this, now there is no update anymore available on the server side, right? And so this guy will not crash. Okay. So now we started. Yeah, it says updated because this was my test. So now we started. We can try to rename things and see how it goes. For whatever reason, when is in that situation, it seems that I can rename this shipping thing. But when we do it then by process, it doesn't allow me to. You see? Here is renaming this. I don't know why. But the packs, usually I cannot. Okay. You see? He's saying that this one is in use from PS Unreal. Now the optional ones, maybe we can. No. Also the optional ones. I think he loaded them all. Now is so all the packs are anyway locked are anyway loaded or opened by the game at the moment. Now if we go, no, all of them. Now if we go deeper, you know, if we really go and change the way Unreal is loading this stuff, which seems to be possible because there was a page that was saying that. I'm just trying them all, but no, all of them are locked. All of them are locked. There was a page saying that it's possible to load only certain packs, right? Maybe, but the problem is that you need to make it in a very, very smart way, otherwise the game will not work anymore. You know? Because if then you don't have pieces that are needed, I think we may mess up. So at the moment we should consider that everything is loaded up. Is loaded up. Gion, did you develop an updater already or not? For your game, because the problem that we are having, you will have the same. One-to-one. You will have exactly the same problem. So deciding how to do the updater and deciding how to patch the patcher, how to patch the updater, you know. You didn't do it yet, huh? Maybe you can see then how we did it and you can reuse it if you want. But the main problem is on Windows. As you can see, all the pack files are locked, and so basically we cannot have the same application update itself. You know, we cannot have this application downloading the stuff and patching itself, because all these files are locked by the operating system because the application is running. So the only way is or to make a separate app that is then changing these files, or somehow to temporarily copy this application without the user seeing it. But you know, it means that you have to copy, like, I don't know, again 50 gigabytes, you know, and maybe finish the space on the disk, and it doesn't. Again, if you have a game of 50 giga, requesting the user to keep 50 gig available only for your patching process is also. You will use Steam and you will update it for you. Yeah, that's also another way for sure. That's another way. So if you are releasing games through Steam, but Steam exists also on Mac and Linux. I mean, are you releasing on 3 platforms or are you releasing only on Windows? I don't know if because the complexity, you know, is Steam Valve for Linux. Is Steam working also for Linux or not? Steam is dropping support for Ubuntu, but not Linux entirely. Your game is Windows only? Your game is Windows only. But anyway, yeah, because Steam works in a different way. So basically you are loading the files into Steam, and which is like the master system, and then the Steam app is updating your game. So in my picture, basically, you know, is this one, right? So for you, the left one is Steam. So you have Steam here that is updating our PS Unreal, right? So they are two separate processes in this case. Yeah, but if you want to make a launcher, I mean, any game is a launcher. You know, if I launch any game, they usually have a launcher. So if you open, I'm playing Valorant lately, and if you open Valorant as his own you know, initial window that tells you to play, right? So you go here, you click here, I can show you. But he has his own patcher, right? And I think pretty much every game has the same thing. So there is the patcher. Actually, at the moment, he's copying files. He's doing something. Then in theory, he should start. Maybe he repatched himself, because you see that it disappeared completely. I think he kind of patched himself, because he completely disappeared. And it seems he's doing nothing, but I think he's doing something. No? Yes? Maybe? But there is no patcher window anymore. So if the game now starts, is different from what I was thinking. I mean, for what it was before. Before there was a window in the middle that was saying, yeah, just saying that you can die from this game. But there is not anymore. They removed it or what? Maybe it doesn't pop up if there is no patch. Yeah, probably that's the case. But yeah, that's the case for sure, because it popped up for a second, but it didn't go to the full download thing. So, but anyway, that's an example. But there are a lot of other games like Elder Scroll or whatever. So you just have a kind of a first pop up with the patcher. The patcher is telling you that it's downloading something. It's giving you the progress of the patch, and usually is giving. Warframe is the same, right? If you open Warframe, you have the initial window with the patch, the download. Maybe there are some news. It's telling you, you know, what is going on in the community and such. And then you click on play and it starts the real game. So this is where we are. What we are thinking. If we should do 2 applications or 1 application only. 1 application only is a bit of a mess, because it has to update itself. And the big and we said that, and we try to make it as small as possible, and the minimum that we could make it, I think, is about 190, 180, 190 megabytes. So this seems to be the smallest Unreal Engine package that you can make, you know, stripping all the engine content, stripping everything. So it means that the updater app minimum will be 190 megabytes, which is a bit annoying on one side, because anyways another 190 megabyte to download, but I would say these days is not too much of an issue, you know. When I'm playing Dota, I mean, there are patches maybe every 2 days that are 300 megabyte each, so you know. Okay. I think I have to go because it's late. Thank you for watching, guys, and I will speak to you soon. I think we made some good progress, and yeah, goodbye. See you soon.